Hello, creepy crawlies. This is not the face that usually does the intro, but here I am introing, totally stealing the line from DL Memphis, who is probably going to be running in as fast as she can on this episode. But until then, you're stuck with me. That's my evil laugh. Just be scared. Attempts are being made here. This is the Ice Cream Queen show. If you're here, you probably know us. If you don't, we like to talk about gothic pop culture, true crime, horror movies, all the things that make us little creepy girls happy inside. I'm not sure if we have any of our other hosts on as of yet. If we do, go ahead and bring in our general host. There we go. We got Kat Malone. Hey, Kat.
Hey, how are you guys?
I'm good. I am guys. Plural today.
You are the one that's running the whole show is Lauren. I love it.
It's the Lauren show.
I like it. I'm here for it.
So I wanted to kind of, for some pre-show chatter, I wanted to talk about, I just binge watched the first 2 seasons of the Chucky series. I've been a huge fan since I was a child and was scared of my Cabbage Patch dolls because I thought they would murder me in my sleep. So going from Child's Play to Bride of Chucky, which was like right in my who I am discovering as I want to be identity. Have you seen the new series, Kat?
I haven't. I honestly haven't. Like, I binge watched the Wednesday, but I haven't got into the Chucky series. So
we can definitely chat on the Wednesday as well.
I love
it. But for the Chucky, I'm going to give like a pretty quick rambling review because, like I said, it was a whole 2 seasons that I just inhaled in a couple days. So, had to sit down and watch it the moment I heard that Jennifer Tilly was signed on and she was going to be reprising her role.
Oh wow, I love Jennifer Tilly, so that's
same.
That's fun.
Hard same. And I could honestly just talk about her in this, the idea that it is Jennifer Tilly playing Tiffany Valentine, playing Jennifer Tilly. She's playing herself in these roles. And there's so, I'm going to give some spoilers here. Throughout the series, there's a whole bunch of different roles she gets to play. At one point, Jennifer Tilly is playing herself stuck in the Belle doll, which was the Tiffany Valentine doll.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it's Jennifer Tilly stuck in the doll as Jennifer Tilly, and then Jennifer Tilly in Jennifer Tilly's body, but it is Tiffany Valentine, and she's playing both sides of it, talking to herself.
Oh, wow. That's neat, though. That would be fun.
It was so good. DL, you are
back. Oh my gosh, what the hell has been going on today?
I think it's in the air. It's just everywhere, so no worries.
Okay, just so you know, I am totally prepared normally, or totally unprepared for whatever comes our way today. Normally, I have notes and notes and notes and notes on my phone, which is MIA. I don't know where my phone is. So I went to go try to send everybody links. I went to go try to...
You're fine.
Oh my gosh. It's just a little bit on the insane side. Yes.
I hope you find the missing phone. Those things are not cheap.
Oh, no.
And not to mention everything you've Googled on there. And then it's like the world can pick it up.
Can you imagine what people are going to be looking at, the things like we Google for this show? It's like, hey, Google, is there actually a book called How to Kill Your Husband?
But I'm just saying,
it was like a short story that was in a magazine, but yes.
That's who you will this thing to somebody. You'd be like, when I die, this disappears. You have to bequeath your phone to somebody so it doesn't end up, like turned back in for like a swap out. Yeah, absolutely not. That's a no. Mm-mm.
And see, I find the search history not too much of an issue because every single time there is some weird search history, we have a show that is some weird topic that's right after it. So if I'm sitting here like earlier today looking up bondage in horror and it's trying to give me X-rated snuff films, I'm like, no, but now we have the show. And it's a really nice excuse to be able to Google whatever. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, sometimes it is actually. No, I think
sorry for the AMSR here.
I think I have a general idea where I was. I had gone to the grocery store, and I had made 2 stops to get stuff for food today. The second stop that I went and I just double checked, and they did not have it. I'm thinking that I might have left it in like one of the little hand baskets in the first stop. And
at the grocery store. Oh,
Well, actually, it wasn't the grocery store. It's just like a little. It's just like a little corner mart that has all kinds of little things on it. So.
I hope they turned it in.
I hope so too, because I'm really depressed because I'm sitting there thinking about all of the photos from this past weekend. I'm thinking about. I'm not happy about it at all.
Now, was the photos this weekend? I saw you dressed as Lily Munster. Was that from this weekend?
Yes, that was from this weekend.
I love that. Like, that's like my favorite right there. I love it.
The amount of people who did not know. I had people coming up to me and like, hey, where'd Morticia go? And then someone else was like, are you a Sanderson sister? And then someone else came up and straight up was like, Spice Girls? And I was just like,
Spice Girls. That's an old one.
But the concept is, where do you get Lily Munster? I mean, how do you get from Lily Munster to Spice Girl?
I don't know. I don't know if they were thinking of something else and that's just what came out of their mouth, because they sat there after they said it and they got this confused look on their own face like, that's not what I meant. And then
Are you sure they didn't have a stroke or something? Like, I would be very worried.
Speaking of the Lily Munster, here is
I love it. I love it.
It's always a possibility.
It was absolutely great. So we do have a topic of the evening. We have a wonderful guest. DL, you want to take it from here now that you're here?
Yes.
Hostess?
Now that I
hostess.
Co-hostess. Yes, so we do have a topic. This evening we shall be chatting about all of those little things that kind of get under people's skin in a roundabout way and get under people's skin. So we are going to talk about all of the fetishes, all of the kinks, and all of the little naughty things that we do that we might not always tell people about. And then we're going to talk about how basically it's represented in Hollywood, what's good, what's bad, and what you need to know. And our special guest this evening is Moxie Rose. And if we could bring her in.
Hello, ice cream queens.
How are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm excited you are back.
Yes.
I am excited I'm back. I love this place.
Oh, good. We love having you here.
It's a love fest.
Oh, thank you.
Where we're going to be kinky. It's a kink love fest.
It's a spicy love fest.
So it's funny because we actually were putting together our schedule and we had something. I don't know. I think we may have had something kind of tentatively planned that we were going to do today. Mm-hmm. And I'm just looking through the Googles as I do. And I'm like, hey, do y'all know it's International Fetish Day that same week, this weekend? And everybody's like, oh. And immediately Lauren's like, we should invite Moxie. Let's talk kinky stuff. I'm like, oh yes, let's do that. Let's break out the kink. So
that's right.
So international, and something that I'm finding is a lot of people really don't even know that there is an International Fetish Day.
It was a surprise to me. I was unaware.
Yeah, me too, ditto.
I don't think that I knew it was there until I started making like the calendars in the store where we get to kind of write out all of the different holidays that we have. And that was one of them. I was like, sweet.
Interesting. So in the environment that you work in, do you get like a free gift with purchase when you're like all that? Is there goodies that you get? Is there, hey.
So we don't do anything to like, we are just starting to kind of toy with the idea of like, all right, let's actually observe these holidays in some way. Like the first one I kind of tinkered with was when we had, International or National Donut Day. And I brought donuts to the store and gave them away to people.
Aww,
so
that
one was a little easier when it's like, all right, cool. So that was donut day. What are we going to do for fetish day? And I just kind of fade to the background. Like, don't ask me.
A baker's dozen of spankings.
There we go. A free slap from Moxie Rose You're welcome.
I'm sitting there thinking, what the line of work that I'm in, we do a lot of professional development. What about like development, hosting classes to talk about fetishes?
So it's like
We
Michael's
actually are, we would like to host. Yeah, exactly. We would like to host classes. At one point, once upon a time, a long time ago, before I worked in this particular store, they did like bring in some people to kind of teach classes. So I am working on reviving that. Most of it is a logistical thing of figuring out like, okay, when do we do it? What time would we do it? What day would we do it? Store has to be closed. Where would we put everybody? If anybody's ever been in this store, it is stacked to the gills. So I'm kind of like, oh God, where do I put everybody? So now I would love to teach classes. And now that I am here, that is probably what I would be doing, is being the one to teach and then kind of bringing in other people who could potentially help me with certain subjects and kind of go from there, because I would love it.
Can we bring that comment back up?
Yeah, I'm
Geek
sorry,
Gumshoe commented, were the donuts in a box or stacked on a display?
So these ones in particular, because I had not done this before, I just had them in a box, but maybe next time I'll do the display thing. People are pretty bold around here, and so I was kind of afraid of what would happen if I just had them out on display like that.
I would have had to, and this is absolutely like my ridiculous thinking, but I would have had to have asked them, be like, can you just make a bunch of donuts and put a pink glaze on all of them with like maybe a slightly darker streaks on the edges and like butthole donuts? Can we make butthole donuts? That would have been what I would have passed out. Would you like a butthole?
Oh, perfect.
Would you like a butthole?
I think maybe my brain was thinking more like horseshoes on a ring. If you're kind of get where I'm going with that, it's like you have something that you can just stack them on, and it's like, if you want one, take the top one.
Yeah.
Or they're like busting out the starfish or something.
I probably should have done. I probably should have covered that first.
Oh Lord.
Oh, so we were talking about the convention that we were at this last weekend, DL and I, and we were advertising the upcoming show. We had some very interesting reactions from all sorts of people about the topic at hand, all the way from giggling. Oh yeah, it's some very excited, like, oh yes, like there was a couple that came up, and the guy was like, yeah, no, I'm really into that, but I want to learn how to do that better. How would I? And I was like, our guest, she has a YouTube channel, and I pretty much pulled up the YouTube, and I was like, here, present Moxie Rose.
Thank you.
Well, with that said, I will. The gentleman in question is like, I would like to learn to do that better. Is that something you teach? Tell me, Oogie Boogie, is that something that you teach? And so I think that might have been. I'm sorry if it came your direction as a deflection, but it was.
Yeah,
that's all right. I handle those very well.
I can imagine.
I was dressed as Oogie Boogie in a cosplay, but I was presenting all of the arms on accident because my costume was not finished.
I'm sorry, that's on accident. My butt. I'm sorry.
There was supposed to be a layer of ribbon around the top, but the ribbon did not make it there.
She had the biggest display of cleavage I have seen ever. We were supposed to do. I'm sorry, my hair is a hot mess. We were supposed to do a intermission between the cosplay contest, and we're like, oh yeah, keep it PG-13. I think they took one look at Lauren and they're like, nope, this is not going to make it to PG-13. This is going to be rated R, and if she moves too much, possibly rated X.
I'm gonna say it's a P-double-G maybe.
Yeah.
I make sure I am well placed in bras before I go out with that much cleavage in public. Thank you.
Just don't sneeze, you'll knock yourself out.
There was a one lady who came up and spoke, I think that to UDL, who just like could not stop giggling, like uncomfortably, like
Yes. So when we go, we do represent ourselves as the Ice Cream Queens, and we talk a little bit about, our show and what we do. But all of the ladies here on this group specific, the three of us that are part of the crew, if you go with us, there's a good possibility that you might have some risque images that you can sell, because all of us have done elements of I mean, even Magda, but I mean, I don't know, she's not with us this evening, but even Magda has done, vintage pinup photo shoots and some more naughty photo shoots. And so we are slowly coming to the realization that we have to figure out how to place those. But there was a couple that came and they had their teenage boy, and she read the sign and got all excited because she thought she was going to talk goth and horror. And she walked up and her response was, "Oh, Betty Page, Betty. It went straight to that. I don't want to sound like I'm making fun, because I was, and at that point I'm like, "Oh, do you like Betty Page?" Because and I'm like, "Oh, honey, you and I are going to talk now, and I'm going to keep you here because I can see." And the gentleman that she was with, he was cracking up. So at this point, I'm like, "It's on." So I'm like, "Yeah." But
so our next show, kink, smutty, kink.
Yeah. I think that's what she heard.
Yeah.
I think that's all she heard.
There was one more interaction that I walked away from. I typically don't walk away from people talking to people or trying to advertise, but we were talking about the show. He seemed very, very interested in DL's pinup images to buy, but we were, talking about the upcoming show and all that. Well, if you're interested in this is our show coming up. And he decided to define this type of relationship as well.
Yeah.
The dominant, takes care of everything, and he does everything. And so in payment, the submissive does whatever he wants. And I was like, I started to correct him, and I was like, actually, that's the portrayal that we're fighting against. And that's what this episode, and he went and corrected me again, interrupted me, correct me again. And I was just like, and I left. I just walked away. I was like, I'm not about to start screaming at this guy, because this is everything that is wrong with how things are portrayed in like romance novels and movies. And this is the exact opposite.
Well, actually, the interesting thing with him, just to give you a little bit of the conversation, so so he comes in, he talks, and he's talking to us about the upcoming show, and we share with him the topic, and he immediately starts talking about, "Oh yes, that's an interesting topic. That's an interesting topic." And our first, we thought the same thing, Ashley. We thought the same thing. His first, when we first start talking about the nature of, kink, BDSM, and basically alternative loving lifestyles, and how they are misrepresented and sometimes created or represented as being toxic and creating that toxic environment. He seemed very, he's like, "Oh yes, I'm very interested in that." And then he presented that information to Lauren, and we were both just standing there going, "That's not right." That's
you were so much nicer to him than I was. You were like,
I was trying.
You were trying. You were trying to be so diplomatic. You were like, "I can see from your point of view how."
I'm like, I can understand. I understand. I'm like, however, we have somebody joining us that might be able to shed a little bit more light on both sides and how, that should be interpreted, and what actually consensual and loving looks like, and what that type of relationship. And then he proceeds to start talking about harem anime. Harem.
Because we all know, if you want to know how things realistically look, you turn to the fucking cartoons.
Exactly. That's just what I'm thinking. Yeah.
So, on that topic,
he might be watching, by the way.
I hope he is. You gotta learn something.
On that topic, when you get presented an argument like that, someone who believes that is how this is supposed to be, what is your reaction to that? How do you try and talk to people with that? Because I just walked away. I was getting so heated. I just left. And so what you're in the field, you're in that profession, you like have to talk to people about this stuff. So
I take it as a personal challenge. It depends on how it's presented to me. If somebody brings it up is like, so my understanding of this is blank, and they just have like the complete wrong, or like they're in the right direction and then kind of like, all right, let's bring this back a little, and they just don't know, or little misrepresented, little misled. And I feel like I can dialogue with them enough to kind of help with that. I will actually break it down and like go through each of the things of like, okay, so if we're going by what you are saying, your rules are, your idea of this, then, and I'll pose some sort of scenario that would run along those same lines that I know for sure that they would not enjoy, that it'd be like, okay, so cool. Now you understand. It's like the concept of cis straight men that have never ever dabbled in any sort of anal play or prostate play or anything like that. The idea for like, if somebody like that presented me this, like, well, I can do whatever I want. It's like, all right, cool. Bend over and let me shove a finger up your ass. You will very quickly understand that you do actually understand consent.
Got a point.
So I'll try to like break it down and go with them. If they start to act a little more clueless, I will start to get a little more corrective. But if I get the sense that they are just an abuser who is hiding behind the mask of kink and BDSM and fetish so that they can just be what they want to be and feel like they can get away with it, the dialogue will completely change for me, and I will let them know exactly what is happening. I won't take as much of an interest in educating them, but rather just calling out exactly how problematic they're being.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that, because there is such a skewed view of that. I think that we were going to talk about how, it's presented in movies and in reference to horror movies, but you have one of the probably most famous cases that's popping up at the moment is Armie Hammer. Armie Hammer has, over the past couple of years, basically been sending inappropriate messages and asking for submission for women, to the point that he's even asking to them to share rib bones so he can cook them and eat them. And yes, and I just feel like, these women are coming out and they're saying, he is a predator. He is a predator. And there ever normalcy to that, and it just went left field. When you have somebody that comes to you and presents these situations, or they say, I've been reading 50 Shades of Grey and this is what I've learned. And, you can tell that there's interest because based on that, or in an extreme situation, there's interest because they've been reading about the Armie Hammer situation, one extreme or the next, and they think that but either one of those are appropriate, or what it should look like. How do you respond to someone like that? How do you correct them and give them guidance that no, this is not what this should look like?
So if I get the sense that they're genuinely curious, there's an interest there, and they've either never dabbled in it and they're just looking for some guidance, or they are already kind of just barely lightly dabbling and they just really don't know what direction to go. But I get the sense that they're very interested in learning. They want to know more. They want good information. Instead of going for the things that's like, these are the things you're doing wrong, or these are the things that are wrong, I want to hear, what is it about this that you're drawn to? Because it's such a wide umbrella. Not everybody, even the most well-versed people in kink and fetishes and BDSM and all of that, are not going to be into everything under that umbrella. So I want to hear, what is it about this that draws you? What is it that you are interested in? What is the part of this that is tantalizing to you? Now that gives me an idea about how to talk to you about safety. So if you say, the part that excites me is the pain part of it. I like the electrostim, knife play, all of the, the wax play, I like the pain part. Okay, let's talk about safety in the pain and the inflicting of the pain and aftercare and things like that. If what you are interested in is, I want to be a submissive, I think that sounds exciting, I think that sounds tantalizing, I don't know where to begin. Okay, cool. Let's talk about healthy dynamics. Let's talk about boundaries and negotiations and hard limits, soft limits. So it helps for me to get a sense of what it is within this world that is drawing you in? Is it the idea of having your own like Christian Grey that comes in and just sweeps you off your feet and introduces you to this whole new world of this? Because then, fine, great, I can help with that and give you a much better direction to go than Christian Grey ever could. Christian Grey could never.
Love the hair flip.
Yeah, exactly.
So I love what you said a couple minutes ago when you were talking about how people use this as almost like a mask, and they're actually a predator, someone who's interested in it for the wrong reasons. Or they have alternative mode. I cannot talk. Ulterior motives. They have bad motives. So
Too much with the words.
You know what I mean.
You're doing great, sweetie.
Yes, words.
Yay.
Fine.
But I think to me, when it comes to the horror movies and all of that, that is what is most scary. A lot of people will take a character who is already like they're a serial killer, and then they'll be like, well, they need something like weird, something no one else is. Let's make them into bondage, and so they'll try and give it to them as almost like a personality accessory to a lot of horror villains. And those are like, yeah, okay, I get it. They're into pain and stuff and ooh, creepy. It's the ones to me that are like, no, they're seriously into this and you can trust me and they get that into that vulnerable position where they felt like they could trust him and they were on board, and then that switch happens. That to me is what is terrifying in horror, in true crime and horror films.
A predator is a predator is a predator is a predator.
Thank you very much. Can we go back? Ashley had a comment. Ashley says it's pretty damn scary to find yourself under the hands of someone who claim to be there for the pleasure, but they are, but is there as a predator. Yes.
Yes.
Well, and I think that what you have found is that sadly Hollywood has created many predators based on what is presented, not just in horror, but just overall in the perception of in the definition of what kink and BDSM, especially BDSM. Now, I do want to comment because one of the original, I'm feeling like it's one of the more original BDSM based horror movies. I always lean towards Hellraiser, which was beautifully done. I absolutely loved it. It was about, it was about pain but in ecstasy. I kind of love the idea that they redid that, in that it is no longer the hell priest. It is now a hell priestess. And it is a little, and I feel like all of the dynamics of the pain and the ecstasy are still there. All of the ups and downs are still there, but it's just presented on a totally different level. And they got rid of all of the leather. So I'm like, ooh, they got rid of all of the leather. So
I like that they got rid of the leather, but they still gave nods to it. It was still very bondagey, but with their own skin. Like pieces were sliced off to make straps here or there. It was still very strappy. It still had that bondage feel to it, but it wasn't like they walked out and you're expecting them to hold a whip from like the smoky club behind them. Cause that's what it looked like to me. They should be walking out of some bondage. Freddy Krueger 2, the bondage club in that, it felt like the Hellraiser, the Cenobite should have been walking out of that club, like holding a paddle, which I loved. But at the same time, I really like the new way they did that. Yes.
Sorry. There's always a paddle with me here. Somebody was trying to sell us a paddle yesterday. It's like, here, have a flight of whiskey shots and then follow it up with a paddle. I'm like, and he was smacking his arm.
He was smacking his arm to show us that, okay, so it was a paddle that had little indentations in it where you could put shot glasses. So it was also a flight where you could like present it and serve it to someone. But he was showing us on his arm, like if you smack it hard enough here, it'll leave the little print of the flight, the shot glass flight here. And we were just like, cool.
Okay. Thank you.
I wasn't expecting like the presentation. I was like, all right, go.
The
Okay.
dedication.
He
Yes.
probably had that idea in woodshop back in high school and has been trying to figure out a way to capitalize on it ever since. So
Yep. Oh, he made a joke. He was like, so I've sold, 4 shot glass flights. I've sold about 50 paddles.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, okay. All right. So I have to ask. So knowing your profession and knowing your interests, Moxie, are there horror movies that you're just like, I do not want to touch this with a 10-foot pole because of how it misrepresents the community?
Or shows.
Or shows, yes.
Yeah.
It's I have an interesting relationship with it because of what I do. It's not just solely within under the kink umbrella. It is also just sex in general.
Mhm.
And so a lot of times, like like the Hellraiser thing's an interesting one because the whole thing about always portraying it as a bad guy, and like even though when they redid Hellraiser, they did this like very like nicely done, tried to be a little more like culturally accepting of it, not making it so like scary looking. But even still, even knowing that if somebody walked in dressed as the new Hellraiser into a Comic-Con and you had one half of the room that is the good guys and the other half of the room is the bad guys, where are they going to go? Which side of the room?
Oh, the bad guys.
Straight up
They're
bad
still
guys. Yeah.
the bad guy. They're still using it to portray that it's a bad guy thing. And it's even when it's done well and done in a healthy way, it's always still meant to be this like, it's done well, but also it's still the bad guy. And so it's what I don't like is seeing sex or kink or BDSM or anything weaponized. So if you're using it strictly to say like, this is the bad guy, you want to know why? Because we put kink in it. I was like, okay, every bad guy I've ever met in real life, and I have met some real life monsters. Not one of them looked like that. That's not how the real world works.
So do you recall a movie? It's been many, many years ago now called Secretary.
Oh God, it's been years, but yes.
What were your thoughts on that? Because that was one of those that kind of threw me off because he wasn't really a bad guy. She wasn't really a bad guy. It still wasn't what I would consider a healthy relationship, but there were elements of it that did not kind of lean into that whole, BDSM. He's a bad guy.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that the portrayal of like the bad guy is usually so on the nose about like, wow, that's a bad guy. Like we all know who the bad guy is, who the protagonist is, and who the antagonist is. Like we very clearly get that in a lot of things. And when it is softened up like that, where you almost just like neither one of them is the bad guy, but also that's not a healthy portrayal of that dynamic, it's almost a little scarier because if you have this like bad guy, you can, to a certain extent, people understand this is fake. This isn't real. Yeah. But when it's portrayed in a way that seems like it's a little closer to what you would see in reality, what you would see in real life, and it's not done, it does not talk at all about a healthy dynamic, that draws no comparison to a healthy dynamic. It almost is a little, walks that line a little bit more because people have nothing to pull from. They're looking at it going, well, nobody's really the bad guy here. Like it's, it's not looking at somebody and going like, oh, I'm going to avoid that. They look at it and go, okay, I'm okay. And it's almost like, oh God, this is very quickly going to be a very slippery slope into what is healthy, what is not healthy, and how quickly that slope just goes downhill from there because of not portraying it in a healthy way, not showing. That's also my problem with 50 Shades is that aside from everything else, they skip over the parts where you would have seen that dynamic coming out. You would have seen those negotiations. You would have heard about hard lines and boundaries. And granted, it has been years and years and years and years since I have seen that movie. But that is kind of like, as an adult, what I kind of remember is being like, I feel like I am missing a much bigger picture here, which is fine if you're watching a movie because you're just being entertained. It's the people that take this little tiny slice and go, perfect. I understand. No, 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 you don't.
I have a question, and it has to do with horror, it has to do with kinks, but it also has to do with money.
Mhm.
Why do you
Ooh.
think, with a lot, if it's not like supernatural, such as the Cenobites and all that, why do you think that so many of the human bad guys, such as, and I'm not even gonna put 50 Shades of Grey in this. He's a billionaire.
Mhm.
And I don't find his thing to be healthy at all. I don't look at him as the good guy in that. There's American Psycho, where he's a very well-off man who's paying for women to come and do all of these things. There was a short film I think I sent y'all. It's called Kinks, and it's on YouTube, and the entire premise is there is a wealthy couple. They come to pick up this girl in their limousine, and it's all, oh, look how rich we are. We'll pay you anything to do whatever we want to you. And why do you feel like that whole money aspect? Because I keep seeing it over and over. It keeps going, they're the bad guy, they're really rich, and they're kinky.
It's power. It's power.
It is.
It's just power, straight power,
Yeah.
where people
Yeah.
feel like they can lord over you if they're richer than you.
Yep. The idea that it seems easier for people to swallow the idea, no pun intended, that
Pun is intended.
if it seems easier to swallow that concept of like, it doesn't seem scary or abusive if it's just this handsome, beautiful, almost always white man that can come in and sweep you off your feet. And like, yeah, he's abusive, and yeah, this isn't really healthy, but he can buy me anything, and I can be swept off my feet into this world that I never could be a part of. And it is how we look down on people, that like that it's, you could have the same character of Christian Grey and have him be a middle to lower class living in a trailer park doing the exact same stuff. And then you look at Christian Grey, how we see him portrayed, and you ask people which one looks more enticing to them. It doesn't even matter what they, just their initial reaction is to go for the more clean cut, the richer, and it's, that portrayal is not exclusive to sex. I mean, we see that in everything, in all of pop culture, that if you want to portray somebody as being attractive, not only do they have to be aesthetically pretty, they need to be well off, or they need to have some sort of power. And it's that idea that I can rescue you. Look at all of these things that I can offer you for the small price of your dignity.
Just marry me and you'll get 3 cows, 2 pigs, and 5 chickens.
It's the exactly. It's the paying for it. It's the price. It's the thinking that kink and sex automatically comes with a quid pro quo. And it's I can do all of this because I can afford to give you this life, and all you have to do is indulge my fantasies.
I think if we step back even further than that, I don't think it's so much the concept of I can give you this. I think this is something that is inbred in women specifically from a very, very early age, because quite honestly, you talk about Christian Grey being in a trailer park and doing the same things versus being the billionaire on wherever he's located. It's created basically this Disney Prince Charming version of him. And I think that there's like a meme or something that's going around about, Disney ruined my perspective of what real men are like, which is, I mean, it's true, because the whole concept of Prince Charming really doesn't exist. Prince Charming is a fantasy that is created by Disney and older women who are trying to sell you that, oh, you can always be daddy's little princess and you should be treated like a queen and a princess. And so, I mean, anytime you have that aspect of it, I think it becomes very, very unrealistic.
I can agree with that. Also, the whole payment system, like we were talking about, so many people think that if you're in some sort of dominant submissive relationship, it is literally like a bartering system. Like, hey, if you do this for me, I'll buy you a car.
Yeah.
If you do this for me, And so the rich, like, oh, look, I'm rich. Look how much I can pay you to do this. It's a bartering system. I hate that. That it makes me feel like, if that's your job, good. Do that job and get that dang money. But if it's a relationship you're looking for, then it's not like a bartering. If you do this, I'll do that for you. If you do that, you do things out of love and to make the other person feel pleasure.
You do things because you find somebody who complements what your interests are.
Yes.
And if your interests lean into certain elements of kink, whether it is dom and submissive, whether it is I want a costume and dress up as a French babe, and whatever your kink is. Why are you clapping? Because you're trying to picture this.
You're talking about the French babe, and I'm over here like Magenta from Rocky Horror Picture Show. That's where my brain went. Sorry, keep going.
No. But I mean, I think as long as you find somebody who is understanding of what your interests and your kinks are, and they know what the limits are and how to play with them. I mean, honestly, if you're one of those ladies who likes to have hands around her throat and you can't achieve orgasm until that happens, the person that you're with should know that and should know what your limitations are. And they also should know when to stop.
Sign the waiver.
I don't sign the waiver.
God bless.
Well, there's always this idea that the things that you see in the kink world, or the different dynamics that you can see within like dom sub relationships and things like that, that's the only place you're going to see it. Like, this is its whole other spooky separate world. It's like, no, it's not. That just has a label to it. Because I have a lot of people that I've heard them talk about things like service subs, for example, that they look at that and go, I could never. Oh my God, I could never. And then I hear people talk about that, or not in no dynamic whatsoever, that are just, I just love being the person to take care of my partner. Like, I love making their favorite foods and just, taking care of, I like to make them feel loved and feel good. And that's my love language. And I'm like, that's the same damn thing.
It is.
Why are you looking down on one?
Well, and I don't think a lot of people realize that, what your love language is can predict what your kinks will be. Mm-hmm. If you like gift, what are you laughing at?
I'm sorry. God. She's talking about it's the same thing. And now I'm over here like, I want to do an experiment where we do two different versions of the exact same scene, where one of them's like a girl in a 1950s house dress with a little apron, and she's making the cookies and she's doing all the stuff because she loves the guy so much. And then I want to do the exact same scene with another girl with like lingerie, it's lacy, there's spiked high heels, fishnets, and there's cleavage to here, and she's doing all these same things. And I want to have like blind audiences watch it and then what they thought. And they're doing the exact same things, just two completely different personalities dressed in different ways.
It's already been done. It's it's in a movie. If you go and watch, what was it, the Jim Carrey version, or the Batman that had Jim Carrey in it, he, Sugar and Spice were both.
Drew.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Drew Barrymore was Sugar, and then her alternate personality was Spice. And basically you had the one little goody good, they were both in lingerie versus, the housewife outfit, but one was making everything very aesthetically pleasing, was very loving, was very sweet, and the other one was just like, let me kick you in the balls while you eat that. So I mean,
yeah. And that's what's interesting, is that you can talk about this. That, like, if I talked about, like, so I know this woman that she just, that's her love language. She just loves to take care of her partner, and that just that's what she likes to do to express that, is to just bake them their favorite meal or clean the house or what, that's just how they show their love. And just, that's just their relationship. And people are like, that's cool. That's, I like that, people, their love language. And if I say, so I know these people, they're in a dom sub dynamic. This is the sub. She is a service sub. What's a service sub? Well, essentially that is the dynamic, is that she services per sub by doing things like chores or whatever that particular relationship looks like for them. And because it's now been tied to sex, to kink, to BDSM, however people hear that in their head, all of a sudden it now changes its tone. It's dirty. It's degrading. You shouldn't do that. But nobody had a problem when I just said, oh yeah, that's just what their relationship was like. The minute I said dom sub dynamic, same thing. But because I now equated it to the kink world, people go, ew.
I'm probably really, really going to get a lot of slack for this, but it very much reminds me of, and I hear a lot of very religious people say this, women are made to serve. Mm-hmm. And so in that aspect, in those certain religions, when they say that, it's a good thing, and women are made to serve. But I bet if they heard that other version of it, where you're talking about it, that they would probably not like it as much.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's interesting because you say specific religions. So there is the whole book of your 5 love languages, and that is actually given in religious organizations. The copy that I received and that I initially read was in a Christian library. And of course, I immediately read it and I'm just like, oh, this is what I'm like. I'm like, how does that apply in my relationship now? Because, my relationship with my husband is a bit unique, and as most, everybody should be unique, but it's the same information. It's there, and honestly, you'll be surprised how many people, they just don't want to talk about it in different religious organizations. They're into it, they understand it, and they know it. They just don't want to talk about it. And I think that you find that in a lot of areas, that people just don't want to open up and talk about it.
Very true. And part of that is not just our relationship with kink and fetishes in general. It's our weird, buttoned up, prudish relationship with sex in general. And even though that you can absolutely partake in kink without it being a sex thing, but because it's so equated to one another, people already have this very strange relationship with sex, and that, like, we don't talk about that. They'll talk about everything under the sun, but we don't talk about that. I'm like, and then it drives them to not talk about. We don't talk about our fetishes. We don't talk about our kinks. We don't talk about and I don't understand where the line is, because I also will sit and listen to, a group of girlfriends, just all, the whole gaggle of girlfriends just chatting about, like, so my boyfriend and I tried this thing the other night, and it's like giggling and stuff, and it's totally fine. But then if somebody wanted to express that, like, so I have this kink that I've wanted to try, all of a sudden the tone changes.
Oh, yeah.
And where was the line? We were already talking about sex and you were cool with it. Why all of a sudden did kink make this inappropriate?
Well, I think that anytime that you start talking about experimenting into things that are not considered, quote, normal, and sadly, kink falls into those categories, although in all actuality, if you started prying into people's lifestyles, you would find that it is more normal than you think. It's just colored as not being normal. Yes, no, actually, one of the things I love, any books that I can find on alternate lifestyles, alternate loving styles, always find this very interesting, because and every time you read something like that, you take something new away and you learn something, and it's something that you can incorporate into your own personal life and your own personal love life. So I do have a question. Have you ever, and this is kind of getting back to the Hollywood thing of it. By the way, my shirt has come undone. I apologize. Have you ever seen a movie in which you're like, this is a good, healthy representation of what BDSM lifestyle is? This is what this is healthy kink, not necessarily just, and I think a lot of times we hear kink and we automatically go BDSM, but there are so many other versions of kink. Yeah. Is there something that you kind of lean to go, okay, this is healthy, this is what it should look like?
So the comparison I usually draw, only because, like, when I get asked that, there's just 1,000 things that come to mind, and all of a sudden I forget every movie I've ever watched ever. Yeah. But one of the go-to comparisons that I will make for people is the Joker and Harley Quinn versus Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Because you always see everybody just, what's a good couple's costume? Oh my God, we should go as the Joker and Harley Quinn. I'm like,
That is the most
what?
toxic couple ever.
It is. It is a
Yes.
very toxic couple and very much tilts in the direction of a Dom sub dynamic as far as like, she calls him Mr. J. She calls it like, there's all this, there's pet names, Puddin, all of that kind of stuff. But at no point is that ever a healthy relationship. Then you have Poison Ivy. And you have Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy together, which them as a couple, it is canon. Like people are like, you're making that up. I'm like, no, I am not.
No, that's the thing.
That's a
And
thing.
it's their relationship now, depending on where you see that portrayed in which comic series and which one you're reading, they are still two very powerhouse characters. And you see them kind of have that give and take with each other, that they understand each other. They understand what one likes. The other one, now, granted, you're not seeing it in a completely sexual way at all because of just the nature of it being a comic book and things like that. But that's a really good comparison that I kind of try to start with people and then build on top of from there, because pulling from all these like different movies and shows people may not have seen, but everybody knows the Joker and Harley Quinn, and everybody knows who Poison Ivy is, and using that as that, what do you, let's just take a look at this relationship. And then, that's they're looked at as like, oh, cute. Let's do this couple's costume. And then you ask them what part of their relationship is healthy. Like, cause we could go on for days about what part isn't. Tell me what part of that you liked. And all of a sudden you will get people starting to go, I just think that it's, well, maybe.
Yes.
And all of a sudden they no longer can tell you which part of that, because if you ask them, like, what part of this is appealing to you in that you want your partner to be like that? Then they go, I don't want my partner to be like that. So, okay, cool. Then what are we doing here? And so you have this negative portrayal, and then they do this complete flip and they show you this person, this, in that dynamic who would have been that more sub role in a different relationship, in that same kind of type of dynamic. Because the ones that, what I have seen, that's Harley Quinn is still, as powerhouse as she is in that relationship. Poison Ivy still is a little more of the authoritative one, a little more of like, if you had to pick, who is that Dom sub dynamic, that Poison Ivy definitely takes a little more of the dominating personality. But there is so much more care given to Harley Quinn. There is so much more thought into her and her past traumas and things like that, even acknowledging that there were past traumas, as opposed to the Joker who caused it and then exploited it.
Yes.
Can we talk real quick about what is always my go-to relationship? It's gotta be Gomez and Morticia.
Yes.
That's a perfect one.
They're so kinky and I love it. They're both so into it. They take care of each other, and there's love, there's affection, there's spankings and knives and dirty talk and aftercare, and it is everything a relationship like that I love about.
Okay. And I equate Daryl and I to being Morticia and Gomez. That is pretty much my go-to. It's like, if there was a comparison to the nature of our relationship, that is 100% it. However, looking in on Gomez and Morticia's personalities, specifically Gomez's love for Morticia, sometimes I think that when you're looking at it, you sometimes forget that it's obsessive.
Mm-hmm.
So there are toxicities that are mixed into it. They're minor in comparison, but they are there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're going to give you the floor, Moxie, on that one.
No, you're right. It is that somebody thought that through when they, took those characters and tilted them into this, like, part of it is just that they're trying to portray these very like creepy characters, but like wholesome, loving, creepy people, like, that kind of, balance. And the way that they show like how do we show a couple and kind of make them kind of kooky and creepy and spooky? Let's make them into BDSM. Let's put a St. Andrew's cross in there. Let's, do all of these like torturous type stuff. And it's done so in such a loving way, in such a, a healthy way, that you see that there really is a lot of love and a lot of care for both of them back towards each other, that you do miss that. You do miss that even though they're trying to portray this as very healthy, that there is no breathing room. It's obsessive that he is nothing without her. He can't live without her. And it's a cute sentiment. It's one thing to tell your partner, like, I can't live without you, but to actually not be able to live without another person's presence is a very weighty kind of thing to hold on to. And especially when you get into dynamics where it can very quickly go from healthy to traumatizing if you do not have that breathing room.
Yes.
Fair.
Yes.
We have our banner. We are on the last 5 of the show here. Our banner is going across this. If you love our show, contribute at buymeacoffee.com/cerealboxpodcast. If you hate our shows, contribute generously so we can make improvements for you. Moxie, where can people find you if they do want to find you and look at some of your information on healthy ways to go about things?
So my main platform is TikTok. I'm closing in on 500,000 followers on TikTok. And you can search Moxie Rose. It'll come up. The handle is Moxie Rose Dances. Most of my stuff is on there, and I have my link tree set up to that so that people can find my YouTube channel, which is Through the Stores, which is For the Love of It, and the YouTube channel is For the Love of It NCW. But TikTok is usually my main platform, mainly because I can give people my direct email if they have more questions that require some dialoguing. I try to make videos that kind of lightheartedly tackle bigger issues that allow people to kind of start a discussion where they didn't know how to previously. And so it allows me to kind of connect with people there. So TikTok is the main one that can then lead you to all of my other links.
Nice. I have one thing I want everyone to do real quick before we go. Give us your best, very random kinky advice. Random.
Ooh, go.
I will go first. It's all in the wrist.
Always pee after sex.
Oh, yes.
That's a given. I'm sorry. That's
a lot of people don't know
given.
that one.
No, a lot of people don't know that. And they also think that it is specific to people with a vagina. They think that when I say that I'm specifically talking to people with a vagina, because they think like, oh yeah, that's, you're getting stuff out. I'm like, well, yeah, but the urethra is right up there on Front Street, the same as it is on a penis, and it's still a hole. Why would this only be for people with a vagina? This is an everybody thing. Pee after sex.
That's interesting because that is only touted for people with a vagina. It's like it's like that's what you hear it from. You get up and you run afterwards, but it's never said for him to do it. So
correct.
Okay.
And it still is equally as important. I know that's not very specific to like kink necessarily, but that is my biggest piece of like sexual advice is always pee after penetrative sex. And it doesn't matter if you have a vagina, have a penis, it had a toy used on you and it wasn't an actual person. If it was penetrative, go to the freaking bathroom. My piece of advice for kink specifically is if you have not discussed aftercare with your partner, you have no business in kink.
Fair.
Yes.
Fair.
Yes. Kat, you got anything for us?
I got nothing. I think the only thing I've got is the same thing from earlier. Make sure you sign the waiver.
DL?
I'm thinking. I feel like I have things, but I don't know where I need to go with this. I think that the basic thing that I can say, if you're at all interested, talk about it. If it's something that sparks your interest, honestly, I think this is information I gave to my daughter when she got married. I'm like, if it's something that sparks your interest, but you're not sure, have a conversation. Just open communication. A little bit of dialogue can go a long, long way, especially when it pertains to kink. And don't be scared to try new things.
Yeah. And RAC is my favorite like acronym to use for that, because a lot of people use safe, sane, consensual. Mm-hmm. I am a really big fan of RAC, risk aware consensual kink.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Risk aware consensual kink. Everybody understands the risks. They are aware that they exist. They understand the full complexity of each risk. They have agreed to it anyway and have taken the safety measures and precautions that are necessary around it.
Safety, safety, safety.
Yep. Risk-aware consensual kink.
And remember, kids,
Oh
safety
my God.
numbers.
Don't be on that show.
Did you just say safety in numbers?
Sex sent me to the ER. What's that show on TV?
Nice, right? Did you just really say there's safety in numbers?
Remember, kids, safety in numbers. Wink. You gotta make the little.
Don't end up on a show where you're.
I'm sorry, my interest. There are generally not a lot of numbers that kind of lean in.
If you're gonna be a slut, be an ethical slut.
Yes.
God.
And antibiotics make your birth control not work as good.
And so does activated charcoal.
Yes.
Activated.
What about an activate? Wait. Activated charcoal. What?
Mm-hmm.
Activated charcoal will stop hormonal birth control from working if it is ingested. So things like pills, like the birth control pill, it will stop it from working.
And they put that stuff in like everything now. If you eat a cake and it has black frosting, could be activated charcoal.
Although I have some black brownie mix that our friend Chef Tony recommended that's not charcoal. So
Have to try that out.
You know, I'm sorry. I really, and I know we can't really get into this, but I really just wanted to ask people what personal kinks they had. Is that too personal?
I have no problem talking about mine.
Okay, we got
real quick.
Yeah, I know. We're 7 minutes over. Go. Who wants to talk about it?
Moxie, take it.
I'll go straight to the top for mine because I got a few of them. I got a list. I can roll out. You ever see the list where it just like and it just all the way down and out the floor? Yeah. We'll jump to the most taboo though because it scares the shit out of everybody. Is CNC, consensual non-consent.
Oh, so
define that a little bit
kind
more,
of fantasies.
So acts that would, and it's a big umbrella. A lot of people think of like sexual assault, like acting out sexual assault, which is oftentimes in there, but it's anything that is. I am very much take a role of a bratty sub. I am absolutely a bratty sub. I want to submit, but I do not want to get there voluntarily. I want to end up on my knees. I just don't want to get down on my own. And so I take this very like fighting, very bratty, like make me. And so it's that like make me and like that kind of thing that I have consented to it ahead of time. We understand each other's boundaries. My partner is probably watching this right now. We understand each other's boundaries and hard limits and safety, all of that. But I like acting out those much more aggressive, much more freeing, and part of it is because I am a victim of sexual assault, real, actual sexual assault, and it allows for me to take back that power. It allows for me to process things in real time in a safe environment where I am actually in control of my body still, and if I want it to stop, I can. But it does take a much more aggressive approach, and it's a very taboo one, and very, very lots of negotiating, lots of dialogue and understanding around it, but it is one of my biggest, most taboo kinks.
Okay. DL, you asked the question.
Actually, I'll be quite honest with you. What she said is very similar to probably one of my major ones. However, if you start going into like fantasy role play, because fantasy role play is definitely, but I think it kind of falls within the same category, but anything, I have fear. I don't like my neck touched. I don't like my neck. I mean, in general, but anything that pertains to biting neck, like anything that's really aggressive that way, it's like hands around your neck, biting your neck. That's generally, that usually kind of tricks my trigger. So, Lauren, you're up.
I like a little bit of pain with my spiciness. I like the biting, like you said. I like, very specifically, grabbed by the back of the hair here and yanked like that. Love that. No, not just the ponytail. Like you gotta hang on.
You gotta get up in the fingers.
Wait. You gotta get like up in the back.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah, up in the back. where the wig clip hurts.
Yes, where the wig clip hurts. Grab it right there, a handful of it, yank the head back. Yeah,
Sorry,
I'll
Kat.
stop there because I do have children, my children, who sometimes watch this show.
My daughter's an adult. It don't matter. Kat, can we go there?
I'm not a kink and tell kind of woman, but I'll tell you what I think is funny is every time I go down to New Orleans, and I've actually like somebody sent this as a joke on my phone, but like I wouldn't do it, but it is funny. But like the stocks, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I think that's hilarious, but I mean, I wouldn't do it. I just think it's fun.
I would totally do it.
You would do the stocks.
Same.
I would do
Same.
it.
Very.
I
would
have
do
to
that.
see the paddle
Yeah.
first. I mean, please don't throw fruit at me. Like, please don't throw rotten
Like
tomatoes at
tomatoes.
me. Like, if
Do you
there's
like
paddling
that?
involved, that
Are you feeling good yet?
Oh no. But like if you're like, anytime you go down to New Orleans, like there's just like sex shops everywhere, and you go in and you're
Yes,
like,
and
oh my
I
god,
go in
it's
every
hilarious.
one of them. I go in every sex shop. I promise I do. I absolutely.
Well, when you're
love
walking
them.
around, you got a drink in your hand, and you're like shopping everything along, the strip,
I'm
and you're.
sober.
Speaking of New Orleans and sex shops, let me just say, if you're going to go down there and buy some like little pretty lingerie things for your evening out, because you're probably on vacation if you're in New Orleans at a sex shop down on the streets, make sure like
That's
if
just
it
what I'm
is
saying.
one of those kind of spread crotchless panties with a lace, if there's lace, make sure that the opening is large enough and isn't going to lace rub your man uncomfortably raw.
Okay, can we
Just
okay.
some advice.
Okay, so,
Not saying that's
so there are
stupid.
some fast fashion companies out there now. I'm sorry, I'm getting to be more and more of a hot mess as I go. There are some of these fast fashion companies now that are doing like crotchless underpants and stuff like that. I bought a set from Shein or Shein.
Yeah. I know what you're
We've
talking
had
about. We've
the
all
conversation.
had those.
Oh
from
my
there.
god, they were the cutest things. It's like basically it was like it was a bra and panty set. The bra had like I'm like sitting there holding my titties, by the way, as I do this. I'm like, the bra had like
Say it,
spider webs, but I didn't realize when I bought it that they were crotchless. I really did not. And I opened it up and I'm
So you
sitting
felt
there
the
with my
draft.
oldest daughter. No, I opened it up with my oldest daughter and I'm holding it like, oh, look, this is cute. I hold it up. Now she's 26, has 2 children. So, I mean, we know sex has at least happened twice in her lifetime. So I'm holding it up and I'm looking at it. And I'm like, well, that's not what I was expecting. But I'm like, I don't know if I can wear this to work now because I was wanting to wear this for Halloween to work. And
You could have worn it to work.
Raise.
Yeah, that's how you get a
Well,
promotion.
Nobody
you
would
get a
know.
raise.
Who's gonna know? Who's gonna know? Seriously,
We
like who's
would.
gonna know
Who's
if you're
gonna
not
know?
wearing underwear to work? Who's gonna know?
Have you met me? You know who's gonna know? Everybody.
What are you gonna do? Like the
Everybody
Sharon
knows.
Stone, like
Guess what I
the
didn't wear to work today.
Oh my
You're
god,
gonna,
we
like,
are well
spread eagle at the
Mouth
desk.
this
And,
out.
just up at the desk with like one leg
Yeah,
up over
with
here.
the Sharon Stone thing where she like crosses her legs.
I know I'm gonna be like crossing and crossing. No, it's not even gonna be that. I'm gonna
Oh
go
my
back.
God.
Okay, I was at an event. I fell. I busted my ass. I had a giant bruise on my hip that was probably like this big. And I'm like, hey, April, does this look weird? I'm actually hiking up my skirt over like my underwear up to my waist. I'm like, does this look bad? And she's like, yeah. Can you put your skirt down? So yeah, I mean, yeah, who's gonna know?
Everyone.
Everybody will know because I'm just like, hey, look at my underwear.
Like the Christmas Vacation. Can't see the line, can you, Russ? Nope, Dad.
You know those little bitty girl, those little kids who get the like ruffles on their underwear and they're just like, oh, I'm so excited. Look at my panties, they got ruffles on them. That's me. Except for mine have spider webs.
That's okay. You like what you like. It's okay.
I think all of us would get excited over spider web underwear. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure probably all of us
I have
own
a
a
lot.
pair of spider web underwear.
Yeah.
There's a 50-50 chance that I could be right.
I think all of us get excited over underwear in general, if I'm guessing. It's
Fair.
like, I'm sorry, my favorite pair says right across the front, better than tacos.
So instead of matching jackets for like the Ice Cream Queens Club, are we just gonna do matching panties? What are we
Yes.
doing here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I think we should. I think it should be a thing. I am
And
going to reach out
nobody
to you
would
and have
know.
some designed.
Nobody would know except for Donna. Donna would be the one, or DL would be the one where.
I would show everybody. Have you seen my drawers? Let me show you my ass. I'm pretty good at that.
DL would be the one to be like, and we're selling them on the website. I'm modeling them. So there's half naked pictures of me all over this website now.
I'm sorry, that was only if it was a purple day.
Speaking of half naked pictures, if you would like some fun, spicy photos of the ladies that you've seen in the evening show tonight, we do have an Instagram where there is a little fun short reel of spiciness.
And there will be more.
Throwing that out there.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. Not, yeah.
It's not too bad.
It's not too bad.
Don't take it down, Facebook or Instagram.
Instagram
It
will
is.
not.
I don't
It's
think Instagram will.
TikTok doesn't like spicy.
Yeah.
You know I'm right.
It's
Okay.
ran by a totally different country that, yeah.
TikTok does not like spicy. TikTok gets mad if I have too much like cleavage. And like
Yeah.
Story of my life.
I've had to
That's
create
why-
an entirely different language just to get the point across of what I'm talking about since I can't say anatomical terms on there.
And honestly, I love the fact that I'm having to decipher your language now. But I watch.
Oh, it's awful. It's so bad. There's a whole host of people that now refer to the clitoral area as the fucking wishbone now, and I'm like, God damn it.
Oh, Laurel K. Hamilton had a really fun one the other day. Not the other day. This was probably like a year or so ago. But she was talking about how she can't talk about the correct terms, and so everyone started coming. She came with this whole video about all of the fake terms that she's come up with, and then it was a thing for a while. It ran. They keep running the ticker. They're like, stop talking.
Yeah.
Get off the
We're like
show."
20 minutes over. We'll keep talking about sex and kink if they let us. I mean,
If you can't tell,
promise.
we like.
Yeah. We like the sex. Yeah, we like the sex. But
I
yes,
like your necklace. Sorry, I got
which
80.
one?
The one you're wearing. It's pretty.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's
I
what-
like that.
I didn't have an actual color, so this
Oh,
was
well,
the thing.
Very
Yeah,
much
fine.
giving off the craft vibes. What's the Frankenfurter's daughter?
Nancy
Help me
Downs.
here. Thank you.
Yeah. Actually, that's why I got this jacket. Is because I thought it looked, but hopefully my hair will look better next time I wear it. But
Okay, we need
Anyway,
to go.
with
We
that
need to go.
said-
we're not even talking about
Okay.
sex anymore.
do we have a topic? I'm sorry.
Seances.
Say what?
Or you talking
Oh,
about
no.
next
Purple
show.
water.
Next show.
Yes.
Next show.
We eventually will have
Purple.
another show. We promise. I have no damn clue what it's about. It's probably going to like happen at the very last minute. We're going to be like, hey, we got a show tomorrow night. What are we going to talk about? Seances. That's probably what's going to happen. So I don't know. I could
I'd
be wrong.
love to do seances.
I know we have a wonderful guest that I'm hoping that we can get join us for seances. So Lisa Morton, if you're watching, we're going to be reaching back out to you very soon. And with that said, pleasant screams. I look like shit.
Bye.